What's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And guys, today we are talking about the Chicago Bears draft breakdown. I'm not going to lie, literally, I almost said the Justin Fields draft because, I mean, that's truly how this entire draft is going to be graded, no matter what happens with any other pick that happens in this draft. But I am going to be talking about the entire draft. We're going to go in depth on the guys that were drafted in the first 3 rounds, which for the Bears is just the first 2, and you know, break down what I like, what I dislike, and give you kind of some of my grades here. Let's get started. Let's just look at the overview of the draft. Yeah, obviously Justin Fields number 1. We'll talk about that later. We're not going to worry about that right now. I did find it interesting. You know, the first 5 picks all offense. I definitely found that to be intriguing. Obviously, going offensive line in the 2nd and the 5th, that was a big move. Trading up for Tevin Jenkins there in the 2nd, I think was a big move by the Bears, just to go and make sure, hey, we need to have a tackle. We need to have some pieces in place to protect Justin Fields. But I'm really kind of intrigued by the 6th round guys that they grabbed. They went and grabbed a Khalil Herbert and a Daz Newsome, and I just think I love looking at like some of the positions that teams target in like that 6th and 7th round, and just watching them go back to back there on running back and wide receiver. To me, I look at the running back position specifically. You know, they just signed a Damian Williams not too long ago. Now they're getting a Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech there. So that's going to be just to me that signals, okay, the Bears are looking for that backup running back spot. Obviously, I feel good that David Montgomery is going to be the guy moving forward, and Tariq Cohen going to be coming back from injury and will be that kind of like gadgety guy who can line up in the slot, line up at running back, do a lot of different things with the ball in his hands. That explosive dude, you got to have that in your offense. But just interesting that they are grabbing some running back depth. And then Daz Newsome, just to add to a wide receiver core that I think is really, really intriguing. Obviously, they were able to bring back an Allen Robinson. You have a Darrell Mooney, who was like a late round gem last year, who I thought really, really popped in last season. Allen Robinson, obviously the headliner, but Darrell Mooney, man, I do like the way he plays. I think he's a pretty good player. And then looking at the rest of the wide receiver core, Anthony Miller, yeah, I mean, he never popped for me. And I bring him up specifically because I think Daz Newsome, he has a chance to replace an Anthony Miller in this offense, right? Daz Newsome is that, quick slot receiver type of guy. Daz Newsome going to be very, very limited in what he can do, but certainly interesting and definitely something to keep an eye on for Bears fans and really just anybody who's paying attention to stuff like that, like me. But hey, let's get right into the actual draft picks that matter, those first couple rounds there. And of course, we do have to talk about Justin Fields. Before we talk about the Justin Fields pick, let's talk about the trade. I'm going to bring up the graphic for the trade. What did the Bears give up here? Yeah, listen, not a whole lot, honestly. They were able to move up 9 spots, really only gave up a 5th round this year, very limited assets in this year's class, and they couldn't afford to give up much more than that, to be totally fair. And then, yeah, of course, the first round next year was a given, and a 4th next year, yeah, not bad. Pretty good value overall. I'm actually pretty happy about that. I think the Bears, they were able to go up, obviously get their guy, but just for draft value, yeah, they didn't overpay either, and that's good. The way the Bears kind of played this offseason, really going hard at a Russell Wilson. Obviously, they were rumored to a Deshaun Watson before all of his stuff happened. I think they were rumored to just about any quarterback that was available at one point, and they end up getting an Andy Dalton, saying, oh, he's our starter, and now he is Mike Glennon from a couple years ago when they drafted Trubisky. But I got a feeling, man, I do think Justin Fields is going to be a lot better than Trubisky. Put up the graphic here now for you. Elite athlete. I think that's the first thing that really jumps out to you, especially for like a guy who's going to have to figure it out. I think from a throwing perspective, I think he's going to have some mechanical issues that he's going to have to work on. Going to have to kind of learn an NFL offense, because let's be honest, I think that Ohio State offense specifically, it's kind of collegey, and it lends itself to having some critiques for the quarterback position. I put in decision making and inconsistent passer there on the cons, and really the only reason I did that is because that's all I kept hearing for Justin Fields, and I definitely saw that. There was a lot of, okay, first read, second read, done, and he definitely was a little bit slow to trigger when a guy was open. I will definitely admit that, but man, I mean, I think a lot of the critique that comes from that is just the offense he played in. There's nothing you can do about that, right? Accuracy, minor issue, and then run first mentality. Obviously that's going to have to be coached out of you as well. But I mean, we know what we're getting: a leader with a really good arm, mobile quarterback, going to have a really good chance to be dynamic at the next level, and really is just the prototypical new age quarterback, guy who can run, guy who can make plays with his legs, and a guy who has enough arm to really make every throw and do a lot of things with his right arm as well. So you got to be really excited about that. Obviously, this is going to be a big year for Matt Nagy and co. and Ryan Pace, all of them, everybody that's a part of that front office organization. They need Justin Fields to pop early to save their job, I would think. I really, really hope this isn't, just a repeat of history with Trubumsky, who obviously was drafted by one organization. They clean house, bring in Matt Nagy, who I was very high on at the time, and I thought that was a good move at the time. I certainly did. Now Matt Nagy's offense has really struggled to meet the heights of, I think, what everyone was expecting when he was first hired. Really just a team that was carried by the defense a lot, and I think that's fair to say. I think Bears fans would agree with that too. I have a buddy of mine who absolutely hates Matt Nagy. He's a big Bears fan, hates Matt Nagy to no end, just because he hates the fact that he was dubbed as this offensive mastermind, and that has been the weakness of the team ever since he's been there, right? So and hey, we'll see. Maybe this is a Trubisky issue. Maybe this was a fact that they just could not get anybody in there under center to really run the offense the way Nagy had envisioned it, and maybe Justin Fields is the answer to that. Let's move on to their second round pick. They were able to trade up to get a Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State, and I want to focus on the player real quick, and then I want to look at the trade and talk about how smart of a move that was to trade up there, just with all the other linemen that went off the board. We're talking about a guy who I think was widely considered a first round pick at times. Had 35 starts at right tackle, left tackle, and right guard. So just the variety of which he can play the position. He can do a lot of different things there. Tough physical dude. There's some questions about his lateral mobility, but overall, you got a guy who I think is going to plug and play right away. I'm not exactly sure where the Bears are thinking, but he's going to start somewhere in that offensive line, I would assume, from day one. That's certainly going to be the expectation of him anyway. But just real quick, let me pull up the list of names here that went between that pick at 39 overall in the second round to where they were going to be drafted, right? They moved up, then they definitely moved up a good bit. So 6 linemen essentially went in that 13 team range. There was a lot of value that was lost. And really, after a Dylan Radnez, who went one pick after where the Bears were originally slated to pick at 53 overall, there was a drop-off, right? So I think the Bears were looking at this tier of linemen, and I'm saying tier of linemen not based on my rankings, but based on how the draft went of all these linemen that went in kind of a clump, right? They went up and they said, okay, we're going to go grab the best guy out of this tier because we're afraid that it's all going to fall apart before these guys go. So they go up and get one of their top guys, and I have to think that was a great move because there was a realm, especially in that moment, there was a real possibility that all of those names could have been off the board. Now, granted, there was one name that technically would have been there if everything stays the same and they don't trade up, but there was a real chance that all those names could have been off the board. Great move by the Bears to go up. Yeah, they spent a second and third round pick on this tackle, guard, whatever he's going to end up being. But I think overall, you got to go make that move. You got to go be aggressive, especially when let's face it, this front office is in make or break mode. They need some production out of this offense specifically. They know their defense is good. The defense is going to win them games. It did last year. It did the year before. The defense is going to be fine. But I think they know, hey, we got to step it up offensively. Starts with a quarterback check. And then next step, okay, we need to get an offensive line. We already got a marquee wide receiver. We already have a guy running back who I'm a big fan of. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what the fan base is thinking on David Montgomery, but I really like David Montgomery. I think he's a guy who can do a lot of things really well. He was one of my favorite running backs when he was coming out this year. His rookie year scared me a whole lot, but this year he's been awesome. He really has. Statistically, all of the above. I'm a big fan of his. So let's move on to some of my final talking points before I get out of here. My best and worst move out of this draft. My best move, do I have to say it? Trading up, getting a Justin Fields, awesome move. There's nothing negative to say about that in any way, in my opinion. And just slam dunk. There's nothing more to say really. And worst move, I'm not gonna lie, I had a tough one, so I cheated here. Worst move by the Bears overall was giving Bears fans a freaking heart attack. Giving them a panic attack, making them think that they would actually go into the season with Andy Dalton as the undisputed starter. That is disrespectful and wrong to a Bears fan base that has been nothing but loyal. Shame on you, Bears organization, for even pretending for a second that was a possibility. That is wrong, and you know it. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I had to make one up because I have no actual complaints about this Bears draft. I think they hit it at the park with as far as, the moves they made and the decisions they made. I think they could not have done anything better. I really don't think so. So with that being said, let's transition into my grades, and I do my grades a little bit different. I grade it based on the players they get, the draft value for those players, and the draft needs. And I'm not going to bury the lead just because I've complimented you guys throughout the process with this Bears draft. I usually go one by one. I'm going to put it all on the page right here. A pluses across the board. All right. First of all, the players you got. Listen, is Justin Fields my number one quarterback in this class? Absolutely not. I had Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence above the cut, just like everybody else. But after that, I felt like Justin Fields was the third best quarterback in this class, and I had questions like Trey Lance going 3. I had no problem with it, but to go out and be able to get him and to not have to trade in the top 10 on top of that, amazing. And then the players you got, look, I really like a Tevin Jenkins. You got a lineman out of Missouri in the 5th round that I know nothing about, but hey, maybe he'll be a starter or at least a contributor. And then you got some interesting skill position players in that 6th round that I already mentioned, and I like the upside for those guys. I really do. Draft value, I mean, again, hit it out of the park with your trades. Yeah, you gave up a 2nd and a 3rd round to move up and get Tevin Jenkins, and maybe you could knock that for being bad draft value, but to me, I think just looking at the situation, and as I kind of broke it down with the way that offensive line board fell, they had to do it. It was a necessity. Ryan Pace made the right move, and to me, it's worth giving up an extra 3rd round pick, especially in this year's class. That there's so much uncertainty, and it did kind of fall off a cliff after 60. I would say like 55, 60. The talent pool definitely fell off a little bit. So you gotta like that they were able to go in, get another premium player, and pair him with the jewel of the class, which is Justin Fields. And at the end of the day, draft value, you get an A plus when you get a starting quarterback at 11 overall. You're able to make a move from 20 and get that deal done. I mean, just bravo to the Bears, and bravo to getting the Giants to actually trade back. I mean, Dave Gettleman never does that, so just another little feather in your cap to actually teach the Giants that, hey, trading back isn't a bad idea. Look, it can work out. You gotta love that. And then obviously needs, again, hit it out of the park. I think the biggest need was answered with a quarterback. Offensive line, their second biggest need, I would have said, is also the next 2 positions they hit. So they hit it all. They hit it absolutely all. There's nothing not to like about this, guys. Hey, let me know in the comments below what you think. Am I too bullish here? If you're a Bears fan, hey, give me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. And hey, if you enjoy this kind of content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're feeling it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Peace out.